Have you ever seen a motorcycle so huge it looks like it came out of a workshop that builds trucks, ships, and military machines all at the same time? Because in this video, we are not talking about ordinary motorcycles. Forget discreet, lightweight bikes made just for a weekend ride. Here, we are talking about true monsters on wheels, machines so exaggerated they challenge logic, balance, and even common sense. Some were born as extreme engineering projects. Others were created out of pure boldness, almost as if someone asked, how big can a motorcycle get before it becomes something else entirely? And that is where our journey begins, to the biggest and most absurd motorcycles ever built. Giant, heavy, loud machines that are hard to ride, and in some cases, so impressive, they almost seem impossible to exist in real life. So stay with me until the end, because the last motorcycle on this list does not just look big. It feels like a direct challenge to everything we know about two wheels. AWD Diesel Bi-Turbo. This looks like the kind of motorcycle someone built after looking at a normal bike and thinking, I can make this a lot more brutal. Created by Sam Turner from Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States, this machine was born in the garage of a diesel engine technician who worked for the United States Postal Service, a guy who learned how to weld as a kid and grew up around mini bikes, engines, and unusual projects. At the heart of this build is an 840 cubic centimeter V-twin diesel engine with a two-cylinder setup, direct injection, and two RHB31 turbochargers, producing around 20 horsepower. This is not a bike made for brutal acceleration or insane top speed. It was built to impress through engineering and through the almost crazy idea of turning a motorcycle into a diesel platform with two-wheel drive. The transmission is hydrostatic, using a hydraulic pump and Eaton 2000 series hub motors, a solution that is conceptually similar to systems used in industrial machinery, but applied here to a handmade motorcycle. The suspension is also completely unusual. Both front and rear use single-sided arms, 400-pound coilover shocks, and two 2,500-pound Air Max airbags, eliminating the need for a side stand. The drive system powers both wheels, something extremely rare in motorcycles like this, and the Mudstar Radial MT31 by 10.5 tires reinforce the look of an experimental military vehicle. At 3.43 meters long and 96.5 centimeters tall, it is almost as long as a small car, low, wide, and intimidating. The 10-centimeter tubular frame also works as a reservoir for 19 liters of hydraulic fluid, while two radiators help control system heat. The black and olive green look, the ammo box used as a battery compartment, the fuel can used as a gas tank, and the weapon-inspired details make this motorcycle look like it came out of a secret warehouse. It did not become famous because of mass production, but because it shows how far mechanical creativity can go when someone mixes diesel knowledge, welding, industrial parts, and a lot of personality. And the original idea was almost diesel-electric, like a miniature locomotive, but it was eventually replaced by a much more viable hydraulic solution. If this already looks like a military experiment on two wheels, wait until you see the next one, because this list is just getting warmed up. Fleshwound Rust Bike. The Fleshwound Rust Bike is the kind of motorcycle that looks like it was found in the back of a junkyard and brought back to life with welding, creativity, and a healthy dose of mechanical madness. This handmade build from After Hours Bikes is tied to rat rod culture, where rust, old parts, and a rough appearance are not flaws. They are part of the personality. The mechanical base comes from a Yamaha XS560, using an inline two-cylinder engine with around 560 cubic centimeters. In its original configuration, that setup produced somewhere around 50 horsepower. But here the purpose is not top speed. It is presence, noise, and attitude. The gearbox follows the classic feel of an older motorcycle, manual, raw, and direct. The front suspension uses a stretched conventional fork, matching the chopper style, while the rear has a low and rigid stance. The drive is rear wheel. Through chain, simple and mechanical, but the whole package becomes absurd with a rear wheel from a 1932 Ford milk truck and headlights from a 1936 Chevrolet. Visually, it looks like a moving sculpture made of rust. The long front end, low handlebar, worn tank, huge rear wheel, and improvised details create a scene that is impossible to ignore. The foot pegs made from piston pins, the seat that looks almost like a rug, and the bottles used for fluids reinforce that post-apocalyptic look. And then there's the Mega Flames flamethrower, assembled with hot licks parts and instructions, turning the rear of the motorcycle into a show. It does not exist to be comfortable or practical like a regular bike. It exists to be a vehicle, a work of art, a provocation, and a rolling spectacle all at once. In custom culture, this machine represents the idea that a motorcycle does not need to be perfect to be unforgettable. The beer bottle used as a fuel gauge sits right in front of the handlebar, and according to the builder himself, breaks all the time. But that imperfection is exactly what makes the Fleshwound feel alive. If the first bike looked like a military experiment, this one looks like a creature assembled from leftovers from different decades. And believe me, the next one takes this idea of exaggeration to an even more absurd level. TMC Dumont. The TMC Dumont is the kind of motorcycle that makes any enthusiast stop and ask, how does this thing even move? Created in Brazil by Tarso Marques, a former Brazilian Formula One driver and custom vehicle builder, it was born as a mix of engineering, art, and national tribute. The name Dumont refers to Alberto Santos Dumont, one of Brazil's greatest aviation icons. The heart of this machine is a Rolls-Royce Continental six-cylinder engine, used in aviation during the 1960s, delivering an impressive 300 horsepower. The transmission is an automatic, continuously variable system, developed especially for this project. In practice, there is no clutch and no manual gear shifting. The rider twists the throttle, and the bike moves, almost like a scooter, except with an aircraft engine between their legs. The wheels are a show on their own. Two enormous 36-inch hubless wheels with a chrome and futuristic look. At 4.48 meters long, 87.7 centimeters wide, and 1.20 meters tall, it is longer than many compact cars. The chassis was built from carbon fiber and aluminum, combining strength, lightness, and a clean visual design. The riding position is low, stretched, and imposing, as if the rider were controlling a display machine that somehow can also move through the streets. The Dumont was not made to solve a practical transportation problem. It was created to prove creative ability, technical mastery, and Brazilian boldness. And it worked. The motorcycle won Best of Show at the 77th Daytona Bike Week in the United States. Tarso Marques said his biggest motivation was to show Americans Brazil's ability to create and innovate with a 100% national project. And looking at this machine, it is clear he achieved that. The Dumont is not just a big motorcycle, it is a statement on wheels. Are you enjoying this ride through the most absurd motorcycles ever built? Then leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell. Because from here on, the list gets even more unbelievable. If this Brazilian machine already looks like a mix of airplane, motorcycle, and futuristic work of art, wait until you meet the next one, because it takes exaggeration in a completely different direction. Frogman Rocket 2. The Frogman Rocket 2 is not exactly a regular motorcycle. It is a handmade trike built to embarrass sports cars in a straight line. The man behind it is Tim Cotterill, known as the Frogman, born in Leicester, England, and trained in mechanical engineering after years working with fabrication and metalwork. The project was developed with designer and builder Michael Leeds, taking more than 3 years to complete. At the center of this creature is a 426 Hemi engine, a 426 cubic inch V8 with 16 spark plugs, and an 871 blower supercharger, prepared to deliver 1,000 horsepower. All that power goes through a 3-speed automatic torque flight transmission, a classic and tough gearbox. At the rear, the setup uses a Kubil Components axle, Mickey Thompson 18x31 tires on 20-inch wheels, inboard disc brakes, and coilover shocks at around 1,134 kilograms, and with a wheelbase of approximately 3.65 meters, the Rocket 2 is longer and heavier than many people imagine. Even so, it goes from 0 to 100 miles per hour in about 4.5 seconds, with an estimated top speed of 321 kilometers per hour. The look is pure mechanical excess. The aluminum body was handmade. The front wheel is a one-off piece, specially machined for the project using 2 tires, and the classic instruments dashboard is molded into the rear section of the supercharger. This machine was not created for relaxed cruising, much less daily use. It exists to show power, handmade craftsmanship, and presence. At high speed, Tim Cotterill has already reached around 257 kilometers per hour. And to help slow it down, the Rocket 2 even carries a parachute. The small red frog miniature, the Frogman's trademark, appears as an almost ironic detail on such a brutal machine. The Rocket 2 was also featured on Jay Leno's Garage, proving that this trike can impress even people who have seen just about everything. If the Dumont mixed aviation with Brazilian art, the Rocket 2 throws a drag racing engine onto 3 wheels and adds a parachute to the package. After this, the next machine really has to be out of this world. Walt Moss Custom Trike. The Walt Moss Custom Trike looks like it came from the mind of someone who spent his entire life surrounded by trucks. Walt Moss, owner of a transportation company in Lake Nebagamon, Wisconsin, in the United States, began building his creations in 1978 and makes everything without computer drawings. The idea was to build something that had never been done before. To do that, Walt used the experience from his own business, reusing semi-trailer and truck parts in a 3-wheeled machine that mixes trike, custom truck, and mechanical sculpture. The engine is a twin-turbo Cat 3208 diesel, a 10.4-liter V8 with an 8-cylinder setup, prepared to produce around 600 horsepower. It is a setup that would normally be found in heavy commercial applications, but here it appears in an open machine that is completely outside the usual standard. The transmission is a 6-speed automatic Allison, built to handle high torque and severe use. The drive is rear wheel, like a traditional trike, but with a feel much closer to a truck than to a motorcycle. The look is an attraction by itself. At the rear, it has 2 passenger seats covered by a canopy made from a semi-truck hood, creating a silhouette that is impossible to mistake. According to Walt, when he drives down the road, everyone speeds up just to see what just passed them. In practice, this trike was not made to be discreet, economical, or easy to park. It exists to draw attention, carry people with style, and show how truck parts can become something completely unexpected. The legacy of this machine is in the creator's philosophy. Walt does not consider himself a high-level vehicle builder, just someone who made a few cool things because in his mind, they needed to exist. And maybe that is exactly what makes this trike so fascinating. If the Rocket 2 looked like a 3-wheeled dragster, the Walt Moss Custom Trike looks like a truck that decided to become a motorcycle. And from here on, the machines only get heavier, bigger, and harder to believe. Roadog motorcycle. The Roadog motorcycle is a legend among giant motorcycles, built in 1965 by William Gelbke, known as Wild Bill. He had a background in electronic engineering, worked at McDonnell Douglas on defense programs, but left everything behind to design motorcycles outside every known standard. The engine came from a Chevrolet 2 with 153 cubic inches, or 2.5 liters, in a 4-cylinder inline configuration. That setup produced around 90 horsepower at 4,000 revolutions per minute and 152 pound-feet of torque at 2,400 revolutions per minute. The transmission was a 2-speed automatic power glide with a modified Chevrolet truck rear differential and Corvette disc brakes. For its time, this was almost science fiction on 2 wheels, especially because it had reverse gear. And size here is serious business. It measured around 5.2 meters long and weighed approximately 1,490 kilograms, placing it among the largest and heaviest motorcycles ever built. Bill wanted a bike capable of cruising above 145 kilometers per hour with reliability. The Roadog's look feels like a mix of motorcycle, old car, and industrial machine. It had dual headlights, disc brakes in the front and rear, an extremely long stance, and a physical presence that made any Harley look small beside it. To park it, there was no side stand. The rider activated 4 hydraulic jacks individually. In practice, this motorcycle was created to travel, eat up highway miles, and prove that a giant motorcycle could actually be functional. Geldke rode more than 32,000 kilometers in the first year alone, showing that the Roadog was not just garage madness. The motorcycle was stored at his mother's house for years, until it was eventually found again. Only 2 examples were built, the first in 1965, and the second between 1969 and 1970. Today, it is part of the living memory of custom motorcycling, having arrived at the Wheels Through Time Museum in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. If the Walt Moss custom trike looked like a truck in disguise, the Roadog is almost an entire highway transformed into a motorcycle. And the next machine will make this idea of size even harder to accept. Monster Chopper. The Monster Chopper, created by the Grind Hard Plumbing Co. channel from Idaho in the United States, looks like a motorcycle made for a post-apocalyptic movie. Led by Ethan Schlesler, the project was born from the idea of building something absurd, as if a classic chopper had crossed paths with a monster truck. The engine is a KTM LC8 V-twin with 1,250 cubic centimeters, with a 2-cylinder setup, delivering around 160 horsepower. It is a modern, strong, and aggressive package, chosen to move a structure that is far beyond the normal size of a motorcycle. The transmission follows the KTM base configuration, with a manual gearbox, but almost everything else was built from scratch. The chassis, front fork, steering system, fuel tank, rear swing arm, and wheel hubs were all handmade for this project. The main highlight is the Mickey Thompson Baja Pro XS 46-inch tires, enormous and wide, normally used on forestry extraction vehicles. Since they had a flat profile, the team had to sand the edges of the tread to round them off and allow the motorcycle to lean at least slightly in corners. The suspension uses a steel tube trellis frame and single-sided swing arms in the front and rear, a necessary solution to fit wheels that huge. And since a normal handlebar would never control that setup properly, they created hydraulic steering with pistons, similar to what is used in heavy off-road machinery. Visually, it is brutal. The tall front end, giant tires, exposed frame, and exaggerated chopper stance make the motorcycle look like a mechanical creature ready to crush any trail. The sound of the KTM engine contrasts with the absurd size, giving the impression of a sport bike tracked inside a monster. In practice, the Monster Chopper was not born for ordinary transportation. It was created to challenge what can be built in a garage, become an attraction at events, and show that creativity, welding, and many hours of work can produce something major manufacturers would never dare put into production. After getting the motorcycle running, the team even tried to make it street legal. Its first major public appearance was at the SEMA show in Las Vegas in 2024, the biggest automotive customization event in the world. If the Roadog already seemed impossible because of its size and weight, the Monster Chopper proves that a motorcycle can have the soul of a chopper and the presence of a monster truck. And the next one shows there is still room for even more unbelievable exaggeration. Big Truckicle. The Big Truckicle, also known as the Tower Trike, is one of those machines that seems to have been born from a simple and frightening question. What if a motorcycle were big enough to intimidate a car? It was created by Jim Gesto, owner of Bellway Trucking in South Bend, Indiana, in the United States, a man connected to the trucking world since he was 15 years old. The inspiration came from something serious: major accidents involving motorcyclists. Jim said he was bothered by seeing cars run over motorcycles, so he decided to solve the problem in the most extreme way possible, building a trike big enough to run over a car. The engine is based on a semi-truck setup and delivers around 320 horsepower. This is not power made for sportiness, but to push nearly 4,890 kilograms of metal, the equivalent of about 10 Honda Goldwings, with enough capability to tow a semi-trailer. The top speed reaches approximately 137 kilometers per hour, an impressive number for something this size. The transmission follows the logic of a heavy vehicle, and the control setup mixes a handlebar with a car-like steering column, along with accelerator and brake pedals. The structure uses 15-inch tires, truck-style air brakes, and a seatbelt. because riding this thing is closer to commanding an open truck than a traditional motorcycle. And to complete its presence on the road, the horn is a train horn. Visually, the tower trike is colossal. The diesel tank holds around 302 liters. The rear carries a large cross. The 10 Commandments are written on the tail, and there are tributes to police officers and firefighters, reflecting the builder's faith and personal values. In practice, it was created as an exaggerated answer to the fear of being invisible in traffic. Its motto says it all: the trike for people who love to ride but hate getting run over. It is definitely not a motorcycle made to go unnoticed, and that is exactly the point. The big truck cycle became even more famous when it appeared on the Bikes and Beards channel, where it was described as one of the biggest motorcycles in the world. If the monster chopper looked like a monster truck in chopper form, this one practically brought an entire truck into the motorcycle universe. And after going through all these machines, it is clear that we did not just see big motorcycles here. We saw projects that mix garage engineering, truck parts, aircraft engines, apocalyptic design, and a huge desire to build something unforgettable. There is a diesel motorcycle with two-wheel drive, a rusty chopper with a flamethrower, a Brazilian creation with an aircraft engine, a 1,000 horsepower trike with a parachute, a legend over 5 meters long, a chopper with monster truck tires, and even a trike that looks like a semi-trailer trying to become a motorcycle. These machines show that the world of 2 and 3 wheels goes far beyond speed, chrome, and a beautiful engine sound. Some exist to ride, others to provoke, and others to become mechanical works of art. But all of them were born from people who imagined something bigger, heavier, and much more unforgettable. Which of these motorcycles did you find the most absurd? Which one would you like to see in person? And which of these machines deserves the title of the biggest exaggeration on wheels? If you enjoy this kind of content, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell. That really helps the channel grow, because it shows YouTube that this content is relevant and helps the video reach more people who also enjoy rare, giant, and unusual machines. I'll see you in the next video.